Hey, Miguel Dorati back here on the CRP, and we are into our wage rages. I have Anthony Scott Pyatt, our boxing guru, joining us. Four picks for fights that are on ESPN this Saturday, July 13th. We've got Top Rank Boxing at the Prudential Center in New Jersey, and a couple of the fights are popping up at the sport books. We've got young Shakur Stevenson. He's a featherweight prospect, a 2016 Olympian, one of the Olympic class, so to speak, that Bob Arum went to Brazil and signed a bunch of Michael Conlon, et cetera, et cetera. Stevenson is perhaps the jewel of the class in terms of the Americans, for sure. He's 11-0. He's taking on veteran Alberto Guevara. Guevara 27-4. It's a 10-rounder. I wouldn't be scared for Stevenson in this one. Stevenson, throughout his pro career, he's been moving fast. I don't think he's ever fought a guy with a losing record, although he fought a couple of guys 2-1, and that sort of stuff. But he's never fought a guy with a losing record, and he's already tackled guys with similar experience to Guevara. So he's coming into this fight a major favorite. And, I don't expect Bob Arum to be picking wrong with this kid. They're bringing him along for a reason. ESPN website, or perhaps it was Bleacher Report, one of the major websites labeled Shakur Stevenson the next Floyd Mayweather Jr. So take it from there. How do you see Guevara doing against the next Floyd Mayweather Jr.?
Right. Well, I'll touch on the weight classes you mentioned too. If you check out our other wage rage this weekend, Billy Dibb and Amir Khan. Billy Dibb's moving up from featherweight at 126 to welterweight at 147 over the course of only about 2 or 3 fights. He's moved up that far. And the reason I bring that up is because I wanted to ask you again, you mentioned featherweight. I actually have this fight as a bantamweight fight. You want to check that out while I give the folks a rundown a little bit, and we'll give them an answer on that when we're done. But the bottom line here is that Shakur is too good for Guevara. Stevenson isn't a KO puncher with 11-0 and 6 knockouts. Especially against a guy with 31 fights and only 1 knockout. Guevara has only been knocked out once in 31 fights. So, and that was in the 9th round. Okay, that was in the 9th. So we don't have over-under numbers on this one at this time, folks. So I can't really tell you, but I would say I would take the over 6.5 at plus 150 if you can find it, because I think this one probably will go, probably decision. Shakur by decision. I've seen him fight. I do like him. He does kind of remind me of Floyd Money Mayweather, which for me is not a good thing. It's a lot of showboating before you get in the ring, and then a lot of boring shoulder tuck defense crap. It's good. It's a good style. It wins. Okay, fine. It's not exciting. It's not as exciting as the hype for me. Although I've seen Shakur look pretty electric when he knows he's got a guy hurt. But is he going to know he's got Guevara hurt early on in this one? I tend to think not. Stevenson by decision.
Very interesting. Stevenson's fought his whole career at 126 featherweight. I do know the bantamweight reference was out on the internet. A couple of the sport books had it labeled wrong. So I'm not surprised that it came across wrong on some of the wires there. But it is a featherweight fight. The bantamweight fight that is on the card also brings us Joshua Greer Jr. He's 21-1, facing Nikolai Potapov, and Nikolai Potapov is also 21-1. It makes for an interesting fight on paper, as the two are matched up there in a 12-round bout. How do you see this one going?
It's interesting, that 21-1. There's some subtle differences that don't mean a whole lot in that 21-1. The one loss for Potapov was a knockout. He has 11 knockouts against opponents. Greer has never been knocked out, but has 12 knockouts. But of course, that doesn't really tell the whole story. What I think will help round it out a little bit is that 4 fights ago, his only loss was against Omar Narvaez, 46-2-2. He retired in the 7th. But his last 3 fights have been wins in the 3rd round, 4th round, and 3rd round again. But let's break that down. Adam Mbega at 9-1 was the only winning record, and all these fights were in Russia. The other guys had really, really not good records. So he's fought, he's not been fighting that top level. Potapov. So his record is not as good as Joshua Greer's is because of the quality of fighter. His draw and his loss were his fourth and fifth fight for Joshua Greer. Those were in 2016. Greer's fought 8 times in 2016, and only 2 were knockouts. Now we got a 7-fight knockout streak against much better opponents than Greer used to face. So at 25, we're seeing Greer, I think, mature, get more power, a little bit more fight savvy. So I think Potapov is lucky to be a plus 420 underdog. Greer, knockout, 8th round. I think this is a pretty easy fight for Greer, who's just gotten better and better.
Okay, and that's a fair call. In Potapov's defense a little bit, Omar Narvaez is probably heading to the Hall of Fame, a decorated champion out of Argentina with an excellent record now. He's over 40 at this point and towards the end of his career. So now when he stops you at this point in his career or recently in the 7th round is an alarm that you're probably not ready for the world-class level. I agree with you. I think Greer at 25 years old is starting to show that he may be ready for that with his increased output in knockouts, and obviously, the competition only gets a little bit better and better every time, right? So that's what we have on the ESPN card. A couple of features for Greer and Stevenson. Stevenson noticeably, and Greer Jr. both getting to headline the top-ranked card, so they are moving up in the pecking order.
That's right. Good, should be good fights.
Yep, they are Saturday night, ESPN, the big channel. There are fights on ESPN Plus in the afternoon, so check your local listings for start times. I'm Miguel Dorati. That's ASP. These are the picks for Saturday's fights with Shakur Stevenson and Joshua Greer looking to shine.